Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I hope we're all doing well. So yesterday was the final stream where they revealed details, gameplay details. They released like tooltips onto the forums, which was very cool, for the final three elite specializations: the Conduit, the Amalgam, and the Evoker. So that's the LE, the NG, the Revenant. I've given some of my thoughts on an expanded version of this video. If you check out the live tab, you can see that. But I thought now that all 9 have been done, it might be fun. I haven't done one of these for about 2 years. And please don't take it too seriously. When I used to do these, people got like really serious about them. I thought I'd do a tier list. We can see what we think about the whole set of 9. Now, obviously, this is just a first impressions tier list. You know, I haven't played it. None of us in the community have played it just yet. We've just seen, you know, what they've said in the blog posts. There's a chance that they're still in development. A lot of the numbers and like potencies and things are obviously going to change. Some things are going to be overpowered. Some things are going to be weak. So I'm not really going to care too much about efficacy here. But in terms of theme, how the mechanics look like they play out, and informed by actually having watched their streams, thought it'd be cool to line up all 9 now, actually see what we think they are in terms of winners. So I've set up a little tier list here. Let's hope that I can actually get this going. Right, so, well, okay, hold on. So, here's the tier list. So, I've ordered them. I think this is the order that they talked about them on the streams, right? I think they did Troubadour, then they did Luminary, then they did Gale Shot, and so on and so on and so on. I'm pretty sure that was the order. So, I've got S tier, the absolute best. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and only put 1 in S. It's going to be like the winner of the set, if you will. And I'm going to only have 1 in D. It's going to be like the loser of the set. Unless, as I talk through this, I come to a different conclusion. I've not really planned what I'm going to do here. This is just like a first take, first impression. And we'll just see what we think as we hit each icon. And in the comments, I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. I will try to justify my opinions as we go. So yeah, let's run through it. So Troubadour. First of all, we have the Mesmer Spec Troubadour. In terms of like theme and you know, just idea, I actually think this is S tier. Really, I mean, if on Mesmer it fits perfectly. You know, when you train the glamour line in game, you can already see like there's those minstrelly elements. There's the April Fools when they joke when they very first announced the Mesmer. Actually, it wasn't April Fools, was it? That was the Commando. But anyway, it fits perfectly on the Mesmer. I think thematically it's a really good idea. I don't actually think I am going to put on S, though. So we'll hold it at A for a second. Now, the reason for that is, in terms of actually how it played, I have to be honest, I'm a little... I'm going to put some importance on something here that I think a lot of people won't put any importance on. But for me, I really wanted to feel like I was playing music in terms of like how the specs sounded. Yeah, I know. I'm talking about the spec sound design. But from what I've seen on the streams and the trailers and stuff, it's still just a bunch of regular Mesmer projectiles doing like the normal Mesmer kind of noise. And I don't know whether it was just the stream and the trailer's not emphasizing it well, but I don't really feel like I'm actually playing music, really, and not in the way that I wanted to. So, unfortunately, I think it does lose a point there. Obviously, they do have the cool instruments animated that you crack out as you actually play. I think the idea of having a drum that does the spammable days is cool. I think the idea of the distort share coming back is huge. And I know some people will look at that and say that's terrible and so on. But I actually kind of believe in a model of the game where we have that tool on a lot of specs. And we've seen like they're doing something similar on the Paragon. And once it's on a lot of specs and encounter design accounts for players being able to do it, I think it could just be a fun part of the game. One of the things I've been asking for them to do is to create niches for these new elite specializations to fall into. And there, I think they've done that. So I'm actually excited about that. I'm excited about the dramatic and the big ideas they've got. Who knows how the balance will go over the year, but judging it right now, yeah, I think it probably deserves A. I really do think it probably deserves A. There weren't any like super fascinating or incredible trait selections. I'm a bit interested in how well it will do as a DPS thing. Like it has like those vague attempts at being a Condi line. Am I really going to want to do that over Mirage or other options elsewhere? I don't know. But, you know, maybe that's less of a Troubadour issue as it is that we're just talking about elite spec design there. So, yeah, I think I'll give Troubadour an A. It was the first one they announced, and overall, I think it's one of the better ones of the set. You know, if all I have is a quibble about some of the sound design on it, not bad. Okay, next we have Luminary. Okay. You might have thought I was a little middle of the road or whatever with my Troubadour commentary there. I'm gonna be pretty polemic immediately now. All right. I think this is awful. I'm really sorry. Look, I know some people might love it. Just by law of averages, there'll be someone in the comments who say I love this. I like the idea of a radiant shroud. I do, and look, I know some people say, "Oh, we've had enough shrouds," even with EOD, right? Okay, you got the shadow shroud over on the thief. That's enough with shrouds, right? I know some people feel that way, and maybe we are over the line now, right? Because we got the ritualist shroud as well coming. But I'm okay with it. Radiant shroud, the idea of a really bright shroud, I think that's fun. And I understand that they're like a useful, easy idea for Arenanet to like plug some traits into, and like it's a concept. So I think that's okay. But what they actually did with it doesn't look very fun to play. It looks clunky. It looks weird. I think I actually quite like that it has core virtues on there, but I think that will come back to bite it. A lot of people are going to say that it doesn't feel different enough at that point. They're going to say, well, look, if you can randomly change steel on the Daredevil to mug, you know, you can have it different, at least in a small way. They're going to say you should do that for the Luminary too. I think the icon is off. Why isn't it a lantern? I think the lore behind it is really flimsy. You know, there's two Char Legions coming together thing, and it feels faux fire-ish, but that's absent from the rest of the theme. Nothing about the Luminary impresses me. Nothing. I think it is unquestionably the worst of the specs. So there you go. Convince me otherwise in the comments. Convince me otherwise if you like. But Luminary is the bottom for me, and I don't even think it's close. And that's saying something, considering one of the other ones we're about to come to. So yeah. Okay. Oh, look, we're doing a lot of stuff, though. So we've just had the Ying. Let's have a look at the Yang now. That's the Gale Shot. Gale Shot is S for me. That's going to steal the top one. There you go. Well, you already know what I think is top and bottom. I thought Gale Shot was brilliant. I thought the animations were nice. Look, I don't think it's the most inspired... No, it's inspired plenty enough. It's not the most complex, right? It's pretty simple. Grab another bow, pew pew, right? And I understand that some people will look at that and say that's not that captivating, that's not that exciting. But I think the theme for it, the idea of like introducing this wind stuff, the connection to the Tengu, the idea of the Cyclone Bow, I think that's all brilliant. When we look back at End of Dragons, I put Bladesworn as one of the best specs Arenanet ever made. I thought it was really interesting mechanically, the way that they set the gun saber up and everything. And the idea now that we get the third weapon swap over here on Gale Shot. The idea you can be a bow if you like. The traits all looked good. The animations looked good. Everything about this was crisp, polished, clear idea. There is nothing I can fault about the Gale Shot. And in fact, that trait that is like you fire projectiles and then you get extra bonus ones rocketing all over the place, I think that looks amazing. I've always dreamt of a trait like that for NG. You know, the NG trait that gives you that extra rocket? You know, I'm a big fan of the Ratchet & Clank games. You know the Rip Your New one, the Rhino, the final weapon, where you get billions of projectiles going everywhere? The Gale Shot gives me that. I think the Gale Shot's great. I love the icon. Before we knew anything about these, I have a video on my channel chatting with Boots and saying this already looks really cool with the icon. You know, I wonder if they could have pushed the leap and the movement sort of stuff a bit further with it, but it's great, you know? What is there to complain about? I think this is an example of Arenanet having a rock-solid, clear idea and executing it brilliantly. And often when I mark elite specs down, it's because I feel that the idea is not, like, solid or like, clear enough. So then it all ends up feeling a bit waffly, and it ends up feeling a little bit similar to previous specs, you know? Like how the Evoker feels kind of like the Catalyst, because they're both specs that give you elemental animals that you trigger with F5. You know, there's these weird overlaps. There's not that overlap with the Gale Shot. And I think that it has that cool mechanical hit to it as well. So as much as I dislike the Luminary, I think the Gale Shot was brilliant. A big winner for me. Okay, next we have a very controversial one. Oh dear, we have the Antiquary, we have the Thief. Okay, oh god. I think this is easily the most divisive of all the elite specializations this wave. Maybe in the game? Right, like I get people will get angry with Scourge because, you know, it's spamming Condi Vomit or whatever. or you may have this issue with this spec or that issue with that spec over the years because of like their efficacy in one game mode or another. We don't have any of that right now. Just purely on like the idea of the spec. Here's what's happened, right? You've got the Thief. And Thief players, by and large, tend to be edgy. All right, I know that's a sweeping generalization. And there will be people that exist outside of any generalization. But generally speaking, you know, we're excited about being assassins. We're excited about hiding in shadows. We're excited about being on the wrong side of the law, stuff like that. And this spec is a jokey spec. This spec gives us a dancing holographic script. It's not quite on a stripper pole. I know people like to joke. But, you know, it gives us a guitar. It has us throwing a script at enemies. It's like a joke spec. And that immediately turns off those thieves. And so there's kind of a perspective here. Like, is it okay for an elite spec to wildly push outside of the remit of its base class? We had this conversation when Heart of Thorns came out with the Dragon Hunter. A lot of people hated the Dragon Hunter because it was traps and it was sneakiness. And no, I want to be a chivalrous, virtuous kind of guardian. The thing is, when Heart of Thorns came out, Dragon Hunter would have been your only choice. So yeah, you might be miffed if it felt like it didn't hit your fantasy of your character. However, we're now 15 years nearly into Guild Wars 2. Is it 15, 13 years? There's loads of specs to choose from. It's really easy to play other classes. I don't personally begrudge Arenanet for doing something a little bit different on one of the classes. You know, people are angry that the Paragon's there, that the Ritualist is there. Why no Assassin? It's very easy, though, to look at Assassin influences in the Execution line or on Deadeye. You know, like are some themes already here? I would judge Arenanet more for doing the same thing over and over again, a little how I feel about the Evoker, than for trying something very different. So, to be honest, guys, I think it looks goofy. I think it looks like an April Fool's joke. I think it's not what anyone was asking for. But I think it's okay that one of the Thief specs is like this. So, I don't know. I think I'll put it at a C. There's other things to talk about. The mechanics, the RNG baked into this class, I think isn't going to work out over time. I think it's going to get nerfed and changed away. I think it's a mess thematically. I don't know why there's cards for the icon when there's only a couple of traits that allude to cards. I think a raw idea of a gambler would have been much more exciting. But it's that thing, like, oh, did their lawyers tell them they couldn't do a gambler spec, so they had to U-turn? I don't know. I think mechanically it is interesting. They are trying some things. So, you know, I'm not going to judge them too hard for the experimentation. It's not exactly my cup of tea, I have to be honest. And I think there was a much cooler, more pure idea of a gambler that I would have really been into. So, yeah, look, if you're a thief this X-Back and you're miffed and upset, I get it. I get it. I'm putting that at a C. That is not one of the winners of this set, for sure. So that's Antiquary for me, I think. Next, we've got Paragon. Paragon's a weird one because, for me, mechanically, it looks like it could be quite cool. I like the UI. I like the flow. I like how they're repurposing adrenaline. I like the idea of motivation. I like the way that the echoes work. I think they have a really fun idea with the elites. And in the world where the Troubadour brings back Distort Share, I see space for this. You know, it's a Guild Wars 1 classic. I only had a few characters in Guild Wars 1. Paragon was one of them. It doesn't fully hit the bar of what a Paragon felt like in Guild Wars 1. It doesn't have all the art and the trait icons and the skill icons like I personally would have liked. But it's okay looking. This will be one that I have to play and get a feel for. I didn't think that the animations were very bad on it or anything. It's got the golden theme. I wish the wings were bigger and more prominent. But I think they did an okay job with the Paragon. I really do. I'll give it a B. I'll definitely give it a B. It might even be up at A. But I think it's a B. You might think I'll put it in A because I'm a Guild Wars 1 player and all that. But actually, this idea that elite specs have to go back to GW1 classes and stuff, like we were talking about the Assassin just now, I'm not actually a huge... I don't care that much about that stuff. So yeah, I'll give Paragon a B. Oof, now this is tricky. This is Ritualist, okay? I maintain that icon should be a spirit. And I think, like many, that it would have been cool if the colour theme was kept. The, like, bluish theme. If the spirits were still chained up. I think it does feel a bit iffy on Necro now. That said, for PvE games, PvE like experiences, I like zooing, man. I like zoo builds. Not necessarily in PvP and not necessarily in hardcore endgame stuff or whatever, but just running around playing an ARPG or whatever. I like zooing. You may have seen me playing Path of Exile 2 earlier in the year. And this is kind of like a zoo spec in a way. But I think Rich List is... So it hits all my bars. It's a Guild Wars 1 reference thing. It's not just a Guild Wars 1 reference, right? It's really beautifully Guild Wars 1. It has Signet of Spirits in there. Sorry, or Summon Spirits in there. It has Soul Twisting in there. It has so many names and references and play styles that the old Writ had coming back. It's got the weapon skills. The potencies of everything look really fun and interesting. Although, again, let's not focus too much on those. The trait lines were really diverse and really changed it up. I loved that the last thing they showed off was, oh yeah, this trait means you can get the spirits out of Shroud and they'll follow you around and everything. I mean, Rich List is brilliant. So why this is tricky is this might be S as well. I said I'd only do one S. I really think they did Rit brilliantly. Look, if you're sitting there thinking Rit was the winner of this set, I agree with you. So by those rights, I think I've got to give it S. The thing is, there are those slight quibbles. Because it's trying to be a Rich List, but it didn't quite get the colours and stuff for me, I think I'm going to lower it slightly. I think it's A. But this is excellent. This is really good. It's funny it's on the same tier as Troubadour, because it's clearly way better than Troubadour, I think. I really thought Rich List was a very, very, very impressive showing. So yeah, I'll give that one an A. All right, and then we have 3 left. So this was from the last week. This is the most recent 3. So first we got the Amalgam. Again, I don't know about the icon on this. Is that an ooze in the middle, I guess? I thought this was going to be like an Atomist or something. Like, wouldn't a cool just ooze icon have looked amazing there? Maybe a bit blobby and amorphous and wouldn't have looked good as an icon zoomed out in the party menu in-game or something. I'll say that Amalgam seems to have really captured the community. There's a lot of people I've spoken to have said, oh my god, I'm excited about this one. Who I wouldn't have expected to be excited about it. I love the Quicksilver vibe. I think if they'd kept it as like a nanotech, Quicksilver, Mercurial kind of thing, and just sort of left it there, Mercury or whatever, I would have liked it more than them tacking the ooze thing on, right? The ooze thing kind of makes it a bit jokey, right? It's a bit like the Antiquarian. And I guess it depends on your taste, right? Do you like the jokey specs or not? I just feel like it wasn't really necessary. Some people come away with the ooze thing and they love it. You know, they say, oh my god, it's got the ooze element and, you know, that makes it funny and so on. And it's kind of justified by the lore and stuff. And I've got nothing against oozes. I just don't know whether, for my taste, it really added that much to the spec. That aside, I think the traits looked fun on it. The mechanics where I can actually specifically select my tool belt skills is a brilliant idea and kind of a continuation. It's not truly innovative. It's a continuation of what we saw with the Untamed on the last wave. But I think it's a really good idea. From what I saw on the stream, the idea, the actual selection of skills we got looked good. Unlike with the Antiquarian, who, by the way, I felt should have had more than 8 stolen items. I feel like there's enough new tool belt skills here. Some of the animations on this look slick. I think that puddle animation while moving is one of the worst animations I've ever seen in the game. But some of the other ones all look really good, like that silvery shield you can create. And you can kind of see oozy elements in all of them. Like when an ooze is blocking, it looks like that shield, doesn't it? And, you know, they've whacked some high potency on the different traits and things. So, look, I can understand why some people would put Amalgamate. I think it's going to be on the B tier for me as well. It looks good. It looks like a solid choice. Thematically, I think it's really good too, because it doesn't feel like hollow. You know, this idea that an Engineer Elite spec can have a dedicated focus on one type of technology or another. I think, you know, we had Jade Tech for EOD. I think this is really good. So, yeah, the Amalgam, nice, solid, middle-of-the-road spec. Next, we have the Conduit. Conduit I might leave on the B tier as well. Conduit, again, it's another big Guild Wars 1 thing. You know, like, Janthir Wilds was big on the Guild Wars 1 references as far as lore was concerned. This new expansion is big on Guild Wars 1 references as far as mechanics are concerned, right? So we get Razza back. I don't know how fun Razza will be until I hear how he speaks and stuff. Will we get data from the next generation references everywhere? That might be fun. I don't know right now. I am a little concerned that his kit seems a bit passive, a bit too situational. You know, separate buttons for stun breaks and Condi cleanse and mobility, and they're all kind of a bit spread out. I don't know how impactful it'll feel. The fundamental idea of the conduit, where we are turbocharging the other legends, I think is really fun. I'm super excited to play Malik's conduit, for example. That looks like it's going to be so fun, and it looks like it's going to be ridiculously strong in the beta as well. I think that's super cool. It might also step on the toes of the other elite specs, though. Like, surely you just always want to pair with this guy. So whether that works out for them long term, I have my quibbles. I think the actual like ticky-tacky gameplay of it, like, is just going to feel a lot like Herald. You know, you get an F2, and it changes based on what legend you have. It feels very, 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 very similar. You can even make it an upkeep. So I don't know how special it feels in that way. It's either B or C. It's either B or C. I'll leave it in B. I'll leave it in B. There's nothing like outrageously like ridiculous about it, I guess. So yeah, let's leave it in B there, I think. And that leaves us finally with the Evoker. Okay, now this is hard for me. This is really hard. That final trait they showed on Evoker that allows you to be pure fire or pure water or pure earth or whatever. That's amazing. It's so cool. And the idea that you could get weapon swap and stuff for it is amazing as well. The thing is with me, I think that is so cool. That's its own elite spec, isn't it? I get that there's like a general idea that this is about dedicating to an element, so it fits within the Evoker. And it bounces off of the pet familiar very well. The pet familiar, I think, is actually okay too. It's very small, but I'm happy that it's not like a gyro that's attached to you. And I'm happy that it's not like a static thing that's on the floor, like with Catalyst. It's more like a mini pet, right? So it kind of does feel a bit like a pet. It's not a full-fledged pet, so it loses points for me there. But I think there's a lot of things about the Evoker I do like. I like the UI for it. And I like that it's very experimental. I like that I can pick one element, and now it's kind of like fresh air, but for anything. I like that it looks like I'll be able to get quickness out of it if I want it, or alacrity. So there's a lot of things going for it. The downside to me is it just feels a bit Catalyst-y to me. You know, in Catalyst you build energy via hits. This time you build energy via weapon skills. It's not really that different. And in both of them, then you hit your F5 to have your little extra creature do something. And we have a new set of creatures versus an old set. That doesn't appeal to me. I really feel like it's like they had stuff left over from the Catalyst and they just plonked it onto Ellie for this next wave. They sort of went digging through the bin to see what they could scavenge out. And I don't like that vibe. I think the thing that I hold against Evoker more than anything else is, to my mind, there are so many incredible Ellie specs that they could do. Like unlocking an Arcane attunement and having an Arcanist. Or doing totally new attunements like Acid attunements and Frost attunements. Basically, what they did with Tempest, where they took a couple of branches of Elementalism, like Storms, basically, and made a... Like, you've got a Storm Mage. I think there's so many things that they could do like that. For all different applications of elements. For so many elite specs. And yeah, I've got the Weaver, and then the Catalyst, and then the Evoker. And they're all just kind of like general Elementalism. You know, like the new elite on the Evoker, it's kind of just another flavor of Weave Self that we already had on the Weaver, you know, like, and that really disappoints me. I've been very disappointed 3 times in a row now with Ellie specs, and that makes me a bit sad. And that last trait feels like, I don't know, so we'll see what they do with that. On the other hand, this looks like it'll be fun. It could be a great new open world spec for me. It's bobbing between B and C. It's bobbing between B and C. I feel like one of them should go in C, so we have this nice balance here. The question is, what is it? Is it the Conduit or the Evoker? It's going to be the Evoker. I'm putting the Evoker in C. I really am. Not that it doesn't have good things. It has innovative ideas. People in the chat were complaining about the UI and stuff. I even quite liked that. And it's one of the things I'm going to be playing in the beta and seeing you know, how it rolls. So there you go. That's my judgments. That's my tier list for the new wave. And, you know, I think they did all right, honestly. So there's another question that will inevitably be on a lot of your minds. Obviously, have a think about this for yourself, guys. Give me your own thoughts, your own tier lists. I think on, like, week 1, I dropped a comment in the YouTube video, and I said, hey, guys, just rank them for me. What do you think? I would love you guys to do that now. Rank these, if you like. So, as an addendum to this, there's another thing that might be on your mind, and that's, okay, WP, this is your rating of these ones. How do we rate them all? Right? How does this wave compare to EOD, compared to POF, compared to Heart of Thorns? So, I'd like to try another tier list. Keep an eye out on the channel. You might see it. I might do another video where the commentary will have to be a bit lighter, or it will go on forever. But we might rank them all and see, you know, what are my lifetime S ranks? And I know that'll be a bit weird because these aren't even out and the other ones are. But, you know, first impressions and all that, we'll see what we do. Again, don't take it too seriously. It's just first impressions. It's just for a bit of fun. Let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching, guys. And, you know, any feedback you have about the last stream, if you were there watching it on Friday, you know, they put the tooltips on the forums and stuff. There were improvements each time. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. And I'll see you all on the next one very shortly. Take care.